Hello, good morning and welcome to Brazil. We are at the Autodromo José Carlos Pache in Sao Paulo, ready for round 5 of the FIA World Endurance Championship. And after, incredibly, a decade away, world-class sports car racing returns to Sao Paulo. Martin Haven, Graham Goodwin, and in the absence of Anthony Davidson, who is on his sickbed sweating out COVID, delighted to introduce friend of the family, Andre Negrão. Now, obviously, you're at home here in Brazil, Andre, but you would love to be back in this paddock again, I'm sure.
For sure. Thank you very much, guys. Good morning. Yeah, it's quite difficult, to be honest, to be on the paddock here in the country and not behind the wheel. But yeah, this is life, to be honest. Yeah, it's quite nice to see all these guys here in Sao Paulo after 10 years. Was in the time in 2014. I was in GP2, so not able to see these guys here in Brazil in 14. But yeah, very nice to be here and to see all these guys racing here in Brazil as well.
Well, we're now on our long flyaway leg. Having started in Qatar, we then raced in Europe up to Le Mans a month ago, and now here we are in Brazil. Then we go to Austin, Texas, at the first day of September. We're racing there. A couple of weeks later, we head to Fuji, and then the season finale in Bahrain. But for all the teams, all the drivers, well, not all the drivers, but almost all the drivers, this is unfamiliar territory. When you haven't been here for a decade, then you're looking at drivers either who've been in the championship that long, Graham Goodwin, or who've got, like, say, Mick Schumacher F1 experience here, because otherwise you wouldn't have come here. So even for the Brazilian drivers, I mean, talk to Augusto Farfus, he's barely ever raced here except in go-karts.
I think the same is true for you, Andre, as well. We're going to give it a quick look through the track first, but we come back onto that point. This track has evolved in the decade since we've been here last in 2014.
To be honest, I don't think so.
Well, the track here, still 4.3 kilometers. It's followed this layout for many, many years. Was resurfaced just over a decade ago, but actually the wear and tear on the surface that the Formula One cars leave has really left its mark. The Center S is one of the most iconic corners in modern motor racing and absolutely a guaranteed overtaking place. Then in this tight sector 2, 6, 7, 8, 9 little corkscrew downhill section up over the brow in corner 10, down into 11 as well. And then corner 12, Junção, one of the most critical corners on the circuit because that sets up your speed all the way up the long climb, over the start-finish line and down to the Center S's again. And Andre, this is a high tyre energy track. Degradation is going to be key. Managing that over multiple stints, double, triple stinting is going to be all part of the driver's repertoire. And that's something that you're very familiar with from having raced with the P2 cars, with the LMP1 cars as well. So that's... everybody understands from Formula One, you can only drive as fast as your tyres allow. In a road car, that's not an issue, but with racing cars, and these are exactly the same, you have to baby the tyres, particularly when they're new. If you're kind to them, they'll be kind to you.
To be honest, is exactly what you said. Especially here, I was talking with the Alpine, of course, and I saw the Michelin doesn't bring the soft seals because they doesn't know how should be the track, and after 10 years,
yep.
So they are more conservative in terms of the tires, so they bring the hard and the mediums. But definitely, even after yesterday, after the FP2, I'm talking to the drivers and they say they have a big tire management because the track is so abrasive. It's like Barcelona in the past before the resurfaces. So yeah, we definitely they have to care about these tires for the stint. I saw the stint is 42 laps, one stint. So
wow,
and they have to do for double or triple in one set of tires. So definitely they have to carry these tires a lot and have to be careful with them. Otherwise, it will be like in Bahrain, if you know, if you stress too much in the beginning, definitely in the end, you don't have nothing.
It never comes back, yeah. And the other element of this track, of course, is there's constant gradient changes. It's always downhill or uphill. Nothing is flat. Nothing is level here. Even the pit straight that you think is flat is going downhill to uphill first and then downhill towards the S's. So there's that constant movement. it's anti-clockwise, which is very unusual in the world of racing. So those left-hand neck muscles are going to be really straining to hold your head up at the end of a double stint. No matter how fit you are, normally it's the other way around. So there's that element. There's a lot of high G corner here as well. So physically it's demanding on the driver, and that makes it demanding on the tyre as well, because it's constantly changing from one high G direction to the other. So the abrasive surface and the G loadings on the tyres are going to make it a really tough survival job.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. You can see here on the first part of the track, so the assist, this is called the cafe. So it's not that much, but here you have a lot of load on the rear of the car. Then you come to the Lago. This is another track that is really, really hard and take a lot of the front ride of the tires. Yeah, Sao Paulo is quite a different circuit compared to the other ones. It's old style circuit.
Yes,
I think I can say this. And definitely, yeah, you'll be a nightmare. And also tomorrow it should be a little bit more high temperature, so you'll be more abrasive.
Andre, you've been a big part of the family in WC for many, many years. Double Le Mans winner, lest we not forget, and a world champion in LMP2 with Cycling Alpine. We said just before we came on air, desperate to get back into this family. Tell us a little bit from the outside, but with an insider's view, just what the buzz is around what's been going on over the last couple of years.
To be honest, now see the races from outside, it's quite impressive how big it is now, the championship. I've been here for 7 years, and when I started, yeah, it was big, but now it's huge. So it's very nice to see all these hypercars and all these manufacturers coming back to the WEC. It's amazing.
So you were here with us in LMP2, in LMP1, and in hypercars. So the last 3 generations, if you like, of prototype racing. We're now into this 2-class championship with a deeper field of GTs and more variety than we've had before, and as you quite rightly say, a much deeper field of hypercars. There's challenge and there's opportunity. When are we going to see you back?
Yeah, I'm talking about, let's say, what we can find. It, to be honest, is quite hard. The level and the seats and the drivers is a lot. Everybody wants to come back to the WEC, and definitely one of these drivers is me. But it's really hard to find it, and I'm still looking at it. And I hopefully until December I can find any seat.
Well, let's hope with a bit more of the exposure here in your home market, because we're expecting a big crowd here today and tomorrow. That someone is looking for another Brazilian driver in the FIWC. It's great to see you, and Brazilian racing royalty is here this weekend. We keep coming across yet another Brazilian race driver from Formula One and from beyond, where they're coming and taking a look at what is an extraordinary new era for the FIWC.
Final free practice session before round 5 of the FIA World Endurance Championship, the 6 hours of Sao Paulo. We are at Interlagos.
1 minute, under 1 minute to start free practice 3. We are under 1 minute to start free practice 3.
That's the voice of our race director, Eduardo Freitas. You'll hear him, Fauzi, and Lisa Weishart, the assistant race director. There's an awful lot going to be going on here. This is an old school track, as Andre Negrão has just pointed out to us. It's, compared to somewhere like Bahrain or Qatar, actually quite narrow. And that means that for these guys, especially in hypercar, passing GT traffic and not losing time, there's going to be a massive skill in that. Less so in free practice, but that will still be part of what they're trying to do, is keep their speed up. But in the race...
Free practice 3 starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Free practice 3 has started.
Toyota number 7 and 8 lead the field out, as so often is the case. Toyota at pit out. This run down out of the pit lane must be one of the longest pit exits in modern racing, because in the old days, old days, you used to just funnel out of pit lane straight into the S's, which is possibly not a great idea by anybody's standards. So now the pit exit is on the straight downhill towards turn 4. So let's take a look at this track. Riding on board with the number 8 car, Andre Negrão. the first couple of laps are going to be very difficult. Of course, when you were racing, they still had tyre warmers. Now there are no tyre warmers here, and so it's very hard to bring the temperature up quickly, but, quote, carefully, so that you don't overstress the tyre. So that's one of the key new skills that all these drivers are learning in Hypercar and in GT.
Exactly, Martin. This is one of the things that I test on the past on Airways with the Alpine Hypercar. Is the most stressful for the drivers because you are so cold in the tires. Even when the tires is new, is worse because you have to take it off all this paraffin from the tires. So that's the worst part ever. And doesn't matter if it's really hot or really cold. Of course, cold and wet is worse. But definitely you have to heat the tires or without affecting or lock the tires. So it's a big mess.
We've immediately got, by the way, Car 81 team manager to race director in race control immediately. I'm pretty certain I spotted what that was, and I think that might have been what might be deemed an unsafe release.
Well, yes, he was released into the queue of hypercars as they were starting to move along. So, and actually, he wasn't the only car that jumped into the queue. So again, when you do the track walk, like at Spa, when you watch on TV, you understand, okay, this is a bit downhill. It's not a bit downhill in the way that Eau Rouge and the Kelp Straight are not a bit uphill. There's an awful lot of gradient change here that the TV doesn't really show. It's a really great historic racetrack, this place, and it does produce great races as well.
Yes, definitely. Well, we can see even in the past, even when the WEC was not here, F1 here have a nice and beautiful races. Normally here you have the rain and dry and sun, so Interlagos you can see some nice battles and nice races, definitely it is.
It's a circuit with character, it's a circuit with history, it's a circuit with what I would describe as patina. There's a lot of faded glory here as well, but an awful lot of glory still to come, and it comes into this new era of Hypercar with this extraordinary grid. I was going to ask you, Andre, you sampled Hypercar at the very start of the Formula with the Alpine, the old Rebellion, a car which, I was going to ask the difference between driving that same car in its LMP1 form and then Hypercar. And then you've got the additional challenge of there being many more cars now in Hypercar and many more GTs, where the performance is now different than it was in GTE days.
Exactly. Oh, in LMP1 was more easy, to be honest. The car is feeling more in Formula ways than now. Now the Hypercars is more in the GT way, so it's more heavy. You can feel the load of the car doing the braking and turning. As before in LMP1 we don't have it.
Yeah. Just spotting there, coming out of pit lane, Christian Reed. Well, weren't expected to see Chris back in a car at all. Announced his retirement. There he emerges from pit lane in the Ford Mustang. But a late withdrawal from Giorgio Roda from the bronze seat there means that Christian's invested in young talent. And that young talent is himself for his 86th start in what is now 90 races in FIWC history. And his first race aboard the Ford Mustang, which sounds not dissimilar. I'll be shot immediately for saying so. The glorious sound of this 5.5 litre V8 engine that is pounding around in the rear of the V-Series LMGT car from Cota. What a glorious thing that is.
And that's an interesting thing, isn't it? Looks like a hypercar, sounds like a NASCAR. It's a great combination.
It is. We were talking to this yesterday, and it's just one of the hypercars that still have the
old school,
a proper engine sound, and it's amazing.
It's bringing fans with it. We call it the sound of freedom, and you know it is that American sound that so many people love around the world. It's a car that's entertained us from the start of its career, still looking for the breakthrough results, the Caddy in the WEC. We've already had good results for its GTP counterparts in the Overtakes Sportscar Championship, of course. Aboard here in the number 27 car from Heart of Racing, they ended their Le Mans 24 Hours with real drama. The car on its roof in Indianapolis, but looking to bounce back here, metaphorically if not physically. Through goes the Pure Racing car that is the equal leader in LMGT3 in the point standings. And through 2 goes one of the McLarens, the 59 car for United Autosports. Before we get into more of the action, though, just want to make it clear, we are live locally. It's 14:30 today for qualifying on the app and on the broadcast partners. That gives you time to look back at the action from the 24 Hours of Le Mans. No, you can't watch the full 24 Hours of Le Mans in that time, although you can do next week. That is now online on YouTube and free. But you can look back at the WEC's full access program from there, which, as always, long form, really entertaining stuff. Massive opportunities to see behind the scenes of some of the real dramas that took place at Le Mans. Heartily recommend taking a look at that.
Yeah, some of the emotion, particularly, I mean, we saw it live, but particularly in the Ferrari garage when they were waiting for Nick Nielsen to come across the line. The other 2 drivers, they were just dying 1,000 deaths, desperately hoping that nothing went wrong on the final lap. Well, Ian James in the Haas Racing Aston back into the pit lane. He's done a couple of installation laps.
Busy time for Ian James, not just the programme here at the WEC, plus a parallel programme, of course, in IMSA's GTD and GTD Pro contests, and some other GT3 and GT4 racing under the Heart of Racing banner with other racing partners in other racing. But of course, the big project is the one that we're waiting for more information about. It is the Aston Martin Valkyrie that will join this grid. This grid gets deeper still for 2025. Astonishingly, there's more still to come. And by the way, there's more beyond that. And by the way, if you're listening and watching, more than you currently know, or think you know.
And that's just in Hypercar, but also in GT3. Mercedes are definitely ringing the bell, going, come on guys, open the door, let us in, let us in. Mercedes want cars in the GT3 field as well. And I think, you know, the fans would love to see that. This is one of the delights of sports car racing as a fan, is all the different looks, shapes, sounds, varieties of cars, and you know, and that's exactly what this, hopefully these grandstands are going to be watching tomorrow. In terms of awareness that WEC is coming back, how much do you think the fans, particularly the Paulistas, are aware that the race is coming back here?
I think they really like it, to be honest, Martin. Definitely all the Brazilians now is getting more used to the WEC, to be honest. Before it's just F1 and F1 because of Ayrton Senna, to be honest.
Of course.
And now it's getting better. A lot of Brazilians coming, even me, Bruno, Farfus, Tony Cannon, so Barrichello. When it starts to be part of the WEC, the people from here start to watch. So I think you can see a lot of people coming here to see today and tomorrow as well to see the race.
It'd be great to see an expanded fan base here in Brazil. It's a passionate nation about its motorsport. And actually, one little factor, not had a chance to check it, but I'll say it out loud and then becomes broadcast and true, which is one of the teams telling us that they believe that Brazil is the only marketplace on the WEC calendar in 2024, with the possible exception of Visotto's Fraschini, where every one of the manufacturers sells cars.
It's true.
The only place in the world that we're visiting this season where these vehicles, the road-going vehicles from these brands, are on sale, and that's a fabulous thing.
And the other element, of course, is, yes, we are in Brazil, but we are in Latin America. We're in South America. Okay, we're not in Latin America here, we're in Portuguese, Brazilian America, but eyes will also be on from Argentina and Chile and everywhere else in South America, because this is the first race for the championship on the South American continent for a decade. So, and of course, you know, we've got Ferrari, we've got Porsche, we've got Lamborghini, we've got names that have got so much history. And the big one is the F word. When you have Ferrari, suddenly everybody goes, oh, okay. And it's not just their GT cars. Now with their hypercars, and now with 2 wins at Le Mans in 2 years, their promotion of what they do with their hypercars is as strong as their promotion of what they do with Formula One. And that's bringing the audience as well.
Big moment there for the number 63 Lamborghini, lands of Danny Kvyat at the moment. That car 4th quickest at the moment. Fastest in the session are the 2 Porsche Penske Motorsport 963s, the 5 from the 6. As I say that, Hertz Team Cota grabbed that top position, a 1:24.297, 12 thousandths of a second ahead of the first of the factory cars in the hands of Matt Campbell, with Kevin Estre under a 10th back from that. So 3 Porsches, 1, 2, 3. Then the Alpine. They'll be, I'm sure, giving you a call and offering you a seat at some point very soon again. I'm sure it's a delight to actually come back. You were a part of keeping that brand with this championship to the point where this adventure could be kind of embarked upon. Talk a little bit about, Andre, the passion of the man that I think is the driving force behind that, and that's Philippe Senior.
Yes, exactly. That's Philippe, to be honest. It's a nice family, to be honest. I passed there 7 years, and I know Philippe very well. And who has the passion, it's Philippe there, to be honest.
That's the Peugeot 93 car.
Well, I was just hearing in my ear on talkback from Bruce Ioane that lots of the drivers are complaining even after 6 laps, still got a lot of understeer. Now, that's not classic understeer, but that is classic braking into the center S's, isn't it? Because you're coming uphill, 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 and at the 50-meter board, the road drops away, and the corner, you're still not at the corner, and it all just runs off down the hill, and whoa, there you go.
Exactly, yeah. This is one of the most difficult braking zones in Interlagos because you don't see too much the S's, because it's blind. But yeah, and also it's a little bit bumpy as well, so this car should be bottoming a little bit more.
We've seen dramas at that turn in the past in the FIWC, with the championship contending Ligier in what was then a only 4-car LMP2 class, losing its championship battle at that corner with brake failure for Olivier Pinard, as I seem to recall back in the day. It does seem an awfully long time since we've been here. It is great to be back at what is undeniably one of the world's classic circuits, and it has that fabulous old school feel to it. It's edgy. It's exciting. The cars look fast here. The cars are fast here. 1:24.297, as I say, and every single lap here, of course, every quickest lap is a new lap record here for this class. We've never been here with Hypercar, and that official lap record will, of course, be set in the race. 6 hours to come on Sunday. That will start at 11:30 local for a 6-hour race in what we expect to be in front of a pulsating large crowd from Brazil, and by the way, from others across South America.
Now you see the Porsche here, number 5, fresh out of the pit lane. They've just stopped and in the way of the GT Porsche, and that is the double trouble with getting new tyres on, is that you're stumbling around for grip, and the GTs are trying to come back past you, so that's hard work.
It is really hard. It's exactly what I think we said before, that is, when you go with new tires in these conditions, you took at least 3 full laps.
I think it's got the look of you're on the wrong tyre. It's got the look of it's wet and you're on a slick still, but it's not. You're on the right tyre. It's just at the wrong temperature.
Exactly.
You know, it's like when you're cooking breakfast. The pan's got to be hot enough to cook the eggs, and until the pan is hot enough, you don't want those eggs. Those are but the problem is, you know, if you really start to lean on the tyre hard on that outlap, then the second stint is going to be absolute murder, because there aren't enough tyres that you can just put new tyres on every time. So you have to have them on for at least a double stint. And like we said earlier, if you mistreat them, it will come back to you. And I mean, and that was the same when you were racing again with Alpine. You know, the same deal. It's still limited tyres, and that's a cost, you know, benefit for the teams. You're not just throwing money at tyres, but it also, you know, it does have that knock-on effect that you've got to be clever as well as quick.
On board here with Seb Buemi. Seb, by the way, one of the winners of the championship at this race when we were here 10 years ago, alongside, he's dead to us now, isn't he?
Yeah. Anthony who?
But Anne Davidson and Seb Buemi taking the title here. What was Tom Christensen's last race a decade ago? We talked, Martin, about the fact that we've got qualifying in just a few hours' time here at 14:30 local, 11:30 for the race tomorrow. If you want to catch up with that, I'm presuming that most people are watching this free on YouTube. Go to FIWC.tv, sign up there for a whole host of not just the sessions themselves, but some additional and exclusive content. So FIWC.tv, and subscribe for this race if you want to just watch this race, or for the remainder of the season. But we've got potential meteorological drama coming, Martin.
Well, the track has been declared wet. Okay, there are no drops of water on the windscreen yet, but we're hearing on the team radio that rain is due within the next couple of minutes. So I did say when we saw that number 5 Porsche coming out, looks like he's on slicks on a wet track. Well, free practice 1 was wet. Now, what did the guys say? Because, first of all, the track's green. The teams have zero setup. Whatever you had here 10 years ago really doesn't relate. So the setup sheet is a guess based on simulations. And then you go out on a greasy track that's already green and low grip. What were the guys saying in the Alpine team about FP1?
To be honest, Martin, yeah, it's like you said, nobody been on the track for 10 years. So the track is very dirty, wet, and they have to put the wet tires, even it's not that kind of wet, so they just start a set of tires. But
all cars with rain lights on in low mode, please. The track has been declared wet. All cars with rain lights on in low mode, the track has been declared wet.
So as I say before, so they're trying to learn the track as quick as possible with the wet tires, just to see how it goes, and if the cars everything is working.
Yeah, some of the teams were like just cycling through 2 or 3 sets of wet. So some of them will be, you'd put a set on maybe to scrub them, which is just to take that release agent off the outside of the tyre and just put a heat cycle through it, a gentle one, because it's possible that we might have rain again tomorrow in the race. There's no guarantee we won't. It is winter in the southern hemisphere. Temperatures are about the same as summer in England. Frankly, almost identical, maybe a little warmer than summer in England that we're having this year, and most of Northern Europe is the same. But yeah, we've had rain. There's a few spits and spots coming now, and we could easily have rain tomorrow. We've got a 6-hour race, so there's a lot of potential for different meteorological conditions.
Tell us a little bit about this time of the year here in Sao Paulo. We've got no real kind of yardstick. Is this pretty typical for what we'd find in terms of weather?
Especially here in Interlagos, yes, because here's it's different than the other parts of Brazil, because we are circulated from lakes.
Yes.
This is called Interlagos. So there's a lot of lakes around Interlagos, and normally here is different than the center of Sao Paulo, that it should be a little bit more warm and no rain. So here we have colder and raining more of the other parts. So yeah, it's typical.
In fact, you'll see, particularly on some parts of the track, that there are areas that have got a different sort of darkness to the tarmac, and that's where grooves are being cut across the track to allow, because we're in a bowl here, the track runs up and down the inside of this big basin, in the middle of which is one of the lakes, which gives the area its name. And so the water runs down the hillsides and down the support roads and the service roads and so on and across the track. And where those rivers historically run across the track when it really rains, they have grooved the track to try and drop the water below the track surface to try and minimise problems with aquaplaning.
Looks a bit of a drama there for the number 31 Team WRT BMW M4 LMGT3 car. I think rear diffuser being replaced on that car. It's a brand new class. There's another of the takers, and trouble for the Isotta Fraschini. Windscreen wiper going, and that car has been turned around. Double yellows to protect. It is Carl Watana Bennett aboard the Isotta.
And that again is over the hill, so you come up over the brow from the right of your picture, and this is sort of triple right hand, 3 apex turn, and the last bit is the tight bit, isn't it? It's almost handbrake turn, kind of rally corner. And yeah, he just carried a tiny bit too much speed in, and he's found where it's wet.
Exactly. Yeah, that's one of the corners that is really hard, especially, I don't know if he's coming out of the pit lane or not with cold tires.
No,
but
he's not.
But it's really easy to spin there, definitely.
Just spotted, by the way, on our the gizmo here.
20 seconds to full course yellow.
So full course yellow was announced 5 minutes ago. I suspect this is going to be a practice of the full course yellow process, because it was announced 5 minutes ago this was going to happen.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
Cars will come down to
3,
80 kilometers
2,
an hour.
1. Full course yellow, full course yellow.
And a great view there, Andre, of the onboard safety system with the countdown, with what the flag is in the sector that you are in. And flags, oh, it was contact with an Alpine. Obviously, they need a driver who can avoid other cars.
Yeah,
one available for hire here.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Oh, my God.
No real damage by the look of it, though, there for the car. But he did pretty well in recovering that car safely to the track surface. Got off the racing surface quickly.
Actually, that's one of the elements here. We saw where the Peugeot went off, but here, one of the areas where there is actually a bit of runoff on the outside, and there's not a lot of runoff on some corners.
This is one of the problems of Sao Paulo. If you lose too much, a little more speed, definitely you will find a wall.
Yes,
So
I did actually say it's like a big Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, so there's a lot of places where
1
runoff
minute
is.
to end full course yellow.
Just a short, I think this is a practice of procedures,
Yep.
as we often do in these free practice sessions. Quick word, you've been, party to, I'm sure sometimes victim of,
45 seconds to remove full course yellow.
the race direction of Eduardo Freitas. Tell us a little bit about the experience, the respect that the field has for, well, what is the other voice of the FIA World Endurance Championship?
For sure, him I have a big
30
respect.
seconds to
He's
win full course
a
yellow.
great guy, and he knows what he's doing after so many years. And he tried, to be honest, even in the briefing, he tried to help
20
us
seconds.
more than he
We will remove
than he
full
can.
course
So
yellow in less than
even in
15
Le Mans,
seconds.
that we know that is a big circuit, he tried to
10,
ask us
9,
what is possible,
8,
what is not,
7,
what he can improve
6,
it or not.
5,
So very
4,
nice guy, Freitas.
3, 2,
When I hear
1.
drivers talking
Full
about
course
Eduardo
yellow removed.
Freitas, they tend to, even if they don't agree, what they say is, we know what to expect from Eduardo. The most important thing is consistency, and he delivers on what he's told us he's going to do.
Exactly.
And he sees it very much as a partnership. He's not here as the teacher or the headmaster to keep the boys in control. This is a partnership between very professional race teams, very professional race drivers, and race direction and the administration. For everybody, the overriding concern is that this is fair and safe for the teams and for the drivers and for race control. So that's why the closer you can work together, the better it is for everyone. Now, the Alpine in question was Mathieu Vaxivière, so that is the number 36 Alpine, so he will be up, I imagine, possibly going to have a look to it a little later. And you can see again, as they try to bring the cars up to speed, the front and the back are fighting the drivers here because they've got colder slicks on a damp track.
Great stuff, getting a little bit back up to speed, but it's getting greasy pretty clearly out there. We can see windscreen wipers on the cars now coming into play a little bit more. Have a bit of a quick look at our tyre model from Michelin. Did spot before we got into this this little bit of a shower that the big lock-up here for the car ahead of this pair, the visible rain now on the camera lens. BMW running a different strategy than most. It was used mediums on the 20 car. It was a mix of new mediums on one side and new hards on the other side for the 15. That's because the load here on the one side of the car, we're expecting to see some dramas there. We know in LMGT3, by the way, Goodyear have negotiated successfully some additional tyres for the teams to allow them to play with those strategies in this race. But it is demanding in terms of the load on the car here, Andre.
Yes. Even yesterday, Alpine was trying to test to put hard and medium in the different ways to see how it goes, because it's anti-clock, so we have more turns to the left. So they try to put more hard on this side of the car, on the right side, and medium on the left to see if he's better doing for the long stint.
Just saw a bit of chat going on in the Hertz Team Joti garage, and clearly when you've got a couple of engineers and 3 or 4 drivers all chiming in, they're kind of working with their knowledge of the wet conditions yesterday and where we're going to go. Valentino Rossi getting ready to get into the 46 BMW. That peels into the pit lane. Yes, it does. There you go. In the pit lane is the 4th member of our broadcast team, the better-looking one, who locked himself out of his room last night.
I think you're just saying, Andre, really
Let's
quite badly there.
say good morning to Bruce Ioane. Good morning, Bruce. Okay, he's not. He's locked himself out of the pit lane.
Box reception against Key again.
Yeah, had to go down to reception in his underpants last night in the middle of the night.
Lawrence Vantor, by the way, aboard the car there. There's one of the two Vantor brothers.
Okay, 4 more minutes of light rain, we're being told. So Andre Negrão, everybody is just... nobody's gone for wets yet. In fact, just saw the 83 Ferrari, the yellow car, that had a mixed set of mediums on the left and hards on the right, the side that does all the work. And they've now gone on to hard and hard. So they're on a full hard set, which might be quite hard work, actually, with this slightly low grip surface.
Yeah, and also one thing about Sao Paulo that the guys, it's nice to know that in Sao Paulo, even if the rain is coming, because the asphalt is so abrasive, it's quite okay, to be honest. The tires can working. And also in Sao Paulo, it's gonna be, if it's raining, yeah, it's raining, but they dry so quickly, Sao Paulo. So you have to be really careful when you put the wet and when you put the dry, the slick tires, because can be a big mess.
That's where the old guys, and here I don't just mean drivers, I mean teams as well, who did race here before, have got that knowledge. That's going to make the difference. You know, there are lots of teams in the championship that are new to the cars, new to the championship, and are definitely new to, even with all their experience, WRT, never been here. United Autosport's never been here. So everybody's learning. TF Sport never raced here. So they're all learning what their current car needs, and even if you were here a decade ago, whatever you were racing then is very different. So, and one of the things I did notice over the last couple of days is how much, when the weather comes, there is always a strong breeze with it, and you know, a decent bit of wind always helps to dry the track because it moves the moisture. When the tyres pick the water up off the track, it helps to move it away instead of just dropping back where it came from. So, yeah, it does dry relatively quickly.
No change, by the way, in the top times in Hypercar. In LMGT3, it is the United Autosports number 95 car, Nico Pino, another driver from the South American continent, from Chile. That car tops the times at the moment, 1:35.580, under a tenth ahead of the Iron Dames. So looking good at the moment, the 85 car. Sarabovi at the wheel of the car. I think the time was likely done by Michel Gatting in the Lamborghini. Then Montai Pure Racing, our co-championship leaders, Alexander Milikin, their bronze driver at the wheel of the number 92 Porsche. Again, that car very close in time indeed, and closer still, TF Sports and the Corvette. So it is 4 different cars in LMGT3 in the top 4 places.
Right, let's catch up with Bruce Ioanni then. He's managed to get himself back into the pit lane. Good morning, Bruce. Bruce, good morning.
Yes, we can hear you, Bruce.
Bruce cannot hear us. I'm trying to put him on air, but he's not hearing us for some reason. Okay. Little mock up there. And interesting, you saw in the Toyota the warning flag there being shown as well. I mean, the reaction of the marshals and the marshalling system, that flag system on the car is like instant. You know, something is literally happening right in front of you and you're getting the wave yellows on your screen. So, I mean, obviously it applies more to the cars that are a little further back, but I think it's a fabulous addition to the levels of safety that there's in the championship.
It is, to be honest, it is. And when you get used to these lights, even also the flags, but the lights inside the car is helping you a lot.
Especially, I mean, and we think particularly at night time at Le Mans, you know, they've got the Lumi boards around the circuit and they have them here as well because the light level is going to be quite low at the end of the race. But when it's on board in the car, and the other thing is for things like administering speeds, slowing down under full course yellow or passing under safety cars and so on, that data from the car also goes back from the car to the system. So the driver can't say, oh, I didn't see the flag, because when the message goes to the car sends a message back automatically going, yeah, got that. So they know that the car has received the yellow flags on the screen or track. Again, if you're being warned about track limits, they can tell each individual car, track limits T5. So you know where you're going to run into problems. So that helps the drivers as well. You know, it's safety, but it also helps their race.
For sure, Martin. And they are really precise. Sometimes, yeah, you can discuss a little bit for the track limits, but to be honest, you always lose.
Yeah, pretty much. Linda Jackson, CEO of Automobile Peugeot. Great to see her back at the racetrack here.
Very important market indeed for Peugeot. Ian Davis, by the way, on a bit of a tear here. We have got a faster time in GT3. Number 92 Porsche in the hands of the bronze driver. Alex Malikin has gone to the top of the times, 1:35.489. So that's better part of a second to the good now over Nico Pino, who has just improved himself. Sarapovi third quickest as the number 6 car stumbles across a Ferrari. Shades of another incident from 2014 there, where Ferrari and the Porsche came together at that point.
And that's an issue when you're coming up there in the hypercar. You are pretty much at VMAX coming up that hill, and so is the GT car, but those top speeds are quite different, 30, 40 kilometers an hour different, and so you're running up behind this guy, and you don't want to go wide if you don't have to. So yeah, that's one of the pinch points on the track, I think, in terms of how important that run from the bottom of the hill at turn 12 all the way through to the center S's. You know, that's nearly a third of a lap.
Exactly.
And that's foot on the boards.
And in the wet here, after the Junsao here, so we go all the way up. Turn 14 on dry is not a corner, but in the wet it is. So this is why sometimes you can see the GTs lifting more than, of course, the hypercars, because it's turning more. So in the wet you don't want to risk so much.
See the understeer there in the Porsche as he came down the hill from 8 to 9.
87 Lexus there. That will be, very sadly, the only Lexus in this race. Sadly, an accident in free practice, I'm afraid, accounted for the number 78 car. There is the car being disassembled after a big shunt for Arnaud Robin. Happily, Arnold is okay. He's back at the circuit. The car's but less so, I'm afraid.
Yeah, went head first down at turn 4. And actually to the driver's right, a sort of the accident that everybody has in the Dunlop curve where the car goes off to the right-hand side. So we don't know whether it was contact or a breakage on the car, but the car punched the barriers really badly and brought out the red flags.
It did.
So one of the things they have to do, because the cars are now going from here, shipped to Texas, is they have to do as much rebuilding here of that car, so there's much less on the job sheet for when they arrive in Austin.
Correct. I mean, the issue there did cause quite significant barrier damage. That saw an early stop to the session. It's one of a couple of drivers with tribute helmets to Senna, Julian Adler, also Augusto Farfus with a tribute 30 years ago, of course, that we lost the Brazilian superstar driver. That led, by the way, to a short session in FP1, and that was accommodated with a longer session in FP2. Fabulous statue down there in the fun areas.
Newly inaugurated, that was unveiled on the anniversary of his passing, so that's another new addition to the circuit here. There's a great mural on the outside of the race control building as well, some 5 stories tall, which is a fabulous looking thing.
Murals everywhere, and again, we've got Andre in the booth here. Just tell us a little about the impact that Senna had in your country.
Big one, to be honest. I think everybody knows him, and unfortunately for me, I was 2 years old when he's dying, so I didn't have the pleasure to meet him. But you know all the stories, the onboards he's having, Jerez in Donington Park, and here in Brazil with the gearbox completely broken, and he won the race. So it was a magical to have him for us, for motorsport, for Brazil and everything. And
it's a strange thing, isn't it? There are lots of countries across the world with their own cultures, with their own troubles. My country are very much amongst them. When you get a sportsman at the top of his, or sportswoman at the top of her game, it's talismanic. It just sends the country alight in a very good way.
It is, especially for here for Brazil, is a very poor country. Have him with an idol. Everybody is getting, you know, in the feeling, and is getting better each time. Every time that my dad's told me that everyone is coming, everybody's watching Ayrton to see him racing. So it's very, very, very nice.
I was thinking about him this morning. I thought, you know, that's Brazil is fortunate that you have 2 names where just one word is recognised across the globe: Senna, Pelé. I mean, that is a phenomenal sport, and you're absolutely right. You know, tomorrow during the race, so there's going to be very little English commentary, the final of the Euro football competition, and England are doing well. Suddenly, every TV in England is going to be tuned into the football. You know, when there's a big sporting occasion, your nation is involved, then it does bring everybody together. And you know, we're not curing cancer here. We're not. You know, making the world a better place physically, but what I think part of what we do with motor racing is we make it a better place mentally. We engage people, and you know, with the way the world is at the moment, in a lot of countries, people need a bit of light relief, and that's what this is. You know, it's motor racing is like soccer. It's about passion. It's about involvement. There is, you know, there's, especially with drivers become heroes like they do in soccer, and there's a loyalty to teams as well. You know, you'll have McLaren fans, or you'll have Williams fans, or you'll have Ferrari fans, and so I think that's, yeah, it's just an opportunity to entertain people and to, yeah, let them forget their lives for a few hours, and hopefully there'll be an awful lot of people here doing that tomorrow. So, yeah. Okay, well, listen, I'm going to try and catch up with Bruce Joanny in the pit lane for a moment. We're going to say thank you very much to Andre for coming in this morning. We'll hear more from him during the race, hopefully. And in a moment, we'll catch up with Pierre from Michelin. But let's see if we can get Bruce Joanny.
Yep.
Okay, good morning, Bruce. Are you there?
Yes, I am, and I hope you guys can hear me.
We hear you perfectly. So, look, it's 20 minutes in, or half an hour in, and you've already been rained on, so your weekend is going very well so far.
Yeah, it has. I was hearing you guys talking about the Akodis car, and I've got a little bit more information. In fact, the car sustained like big damage. Not only the chassis is finished, but also the engine has been damaged. So they've got a lot of work ahead of Austin to fix that car. Yeah. And other than that, everybody's running pretty fine around here. And actually, I haven't heard and I haven't seen any water. Hasn't spit any water in the front straight. So okay. I'm dry.
All right, well, that's good news. Bruce Joanny remains dry and has not just gone out in his underpants. The top 11 cars now in Hypercar within a second of the fastest lap time. And this is one of the little things, before we get to Pierre, actually, one of the little things that you noticed, Graham, actually, at the end of Le Mans, is at the end of Le Mans this year, there were 9 cars still on the lead lap after 24 hours. 8 cars, okay. And something you looked up is the biggest number of cars ever on the lead lap at Le Mans before this year was? 2.
Correct.
And you think, no, really, that can't be. What, through Group C, through GT1, through... And in most years, only 1 car. Correct. Because, of course, when cars were much more frail than they are now, any sort of problem, you're off the lead lap, you're never coming back. You know, you're still second, third, fourth, or whatever. But to have the depth of and variety of cars in Hypercar, and the absolutely going at it hammer and tongsness of the level of performance of these cars, and still have 8 cars in contention to win it in the last hour is astonishing.
It's amazing, and it's the depth. You're right, it's the depth. It's the most astonishing part of it is it's the depth and the variety of those cars.
Yes.
And the reliability of those cars this early in what is an exploding formula. We're back here for the first time, we were saying a little earlier in the show, for a decade in Interlagos, with what is transformed from 2014 FIA World Endurance Championship. Delighted to have with us again for a free practice 3, Pierre from Michelin, program manager with the WEC. Pierre, 10 years since we've been here. How do you prepare for this? Because this circuit, in terms of the surface we've got to play with, absolutely transformed from what was a newly resurfaced circuit when I was here in 2014 with the WEC. Lap records being set left, right and centre. It's not like that now, is it? This is a circuit that has matured. It's a circuit that I said earlier in the programme has got patina. It's got age to it. That must provide some real key challenges for you and your engineers.
Yeah, it was a very good. It was a very good challenge for us to understand what will be the grip level in this track, because like you said, 10 years ago the surface was new, so we didn't have any data at all to when we came here. So we, of course, we have all our simulation tool that to help us to find the right the tire that we need. But the problem that we face, it was we had to make the tire choice 4 months ago. So 4 months ago, when we checked the calendar, Brazil is in the Brazil race is in winter. So we can see that the temperature range we could face, it was between 15 degrees to 30 degrees. So it was very difficult to make the choice. So we saw that we selected the medium and the hard this weekend, and it looks like that we have made the good choice, because even the temperature are cool at the moment since yesterday the free practice and today the free practice 3.
That's part, you're talking about tyre selection, that's part of another key part of the way in which racing is evolving, sustainability. Not taking thousands of tyres around the world that you're not going to need.
Yeah, exactly. We have to produce the tires in a long time in advance, but we need to transport the tires by sea freight. So that's why we want to take to reduce the maximum our footprint into the championship. So we choose, because we saw that the track is, as you can see, the layout is a very curvy. There's a lot of curves, that it puts a lot of energy. But the question mark was the level of the grip of the surface, because it's an old surface. When we did the track walk, we saw that the surface was not the best looking, but we could see that since yesterday that finally the track has a good grip, and the tires bring up very quickly the temperature on the tires. So that's why we are quite pleased about the performance at the moment on the medium, and also we can see that there's some teams that are testing on the hard compound. But today we are facing cold temperature. Tomorrow for the race will be hot weather, so we will have to evaluate.
So this is your array of tyres. The wet tyre is a standard wet tyre, and you will take those even to Austin, because who knows what might happen. But the tyres are not for... They have a different temperature window at which they operate best, but also with that, you build a different strength into the sidewall of the tyre as well, depending on what you're expecting it to have to do, right?
Well, on the 3 compound, the sidewall is exactly the same. It's all the same construction, it's just the compound on the tyre which is different, who works on a different window, temperature window. But here we have the medium and the hard, even if it's cold, but due to the energy of the track, we can see that the medium and the hard compound can work also on a lower ground temperature.
Yeah.
Now the question mark is going to be tomorrow. We expect to be a very warm day, so it's going to be 25 in the air, so we can expect to have something around 40 degrees on the ground. So it will be again a new...
so a whole new day. Yeah, wrong track. We've come to a different track from where free practice and qualifying was. Now the other thing I think that people don't appreciate, especially with racing tyres, but also with their road tyres, is that what you don't do is build a bunch of tyres and then, we didn't use any of those softs this year, we'll just use them next year. But you can't do that, because racing tyres have a very strict shelf life.
Yes.
And after that, they're not the same anymore.
Yeah, exactly. We produce just the tyres that we need for the next races. We don't produce a big bunch of tyres at the beginning of the year and use the stock. No, we are using all the leftovers from a race event. We just complete the stock with some extra production.
Well, there's the other point to be made, and I'm sure Michelin and Goodyear would make this point, which is we tend in our road cars to look at tread. We tend to have that as the point at which we will make a determination of changing the tyre. But you should always be aware of the age of the tyres you've got on your road car as well, because tyres will degrade over time.
Yeah.
Well, we don't, the tyres, the slicks that we are using...
I mean on road cars.
On the road cars,
yes, yes.
Road cars, yes, of course, but on the racing is different, because the life is a lot shorter.
Yeah, absolutely. And there you can see those 2 sort of series of little black scanners that the cars go past. Oops! That's one of the... It said AF course. Is that the AF course Ferrari?
It is the AF course Ferrari.
Whoa!
Went across the curb, lost the grip to
is that an out lap? No, it's...
No,
it's,
lost grip.
Oh, in fact, that was his in lap.
Yeah, so... bit of a moment gathered up though by the number 83 car and the hands of Robert Kubica.
Now we're talking about that car because they started the session with hard tyres on the right hand side, the driver's right, and a used set of mediums on the left hand side. Then they put used hards on the left, so they were on hard, and then actually his last set was a set of used mediums, so that's the one he's just come in on, done half a run on those and handing over to Yiffy Yin.
So what they're looking is what works best. What they're looking to do is what works best in what are quite changeable conditions at the moment. They're looking to see what mileage they're getting out of various combinations of rubber, correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah. We are just evaluating today the level of grip as a consistent grip for the maximum laps that we are doing on every reset.
And we know that because of the restricted number of tyres allocated to the hypercars and indeed the GTs for the race, that they are looking at least having to double stint sets of tyres to get through, because you can't just keep throwing new tyres at the car like they would in F1. But they're also looking at the potential of triple stinting it, because obviously the less time you spend in the pits, the more time you spend going quickly on track. So if you don't have to change your tyres, what's the feeling? Is a triple stint likely to be an option tomorrow with elevated temperatures?
We still have to understand, we expertise the tires that we are going to use during the free practice, and see. Today we need to validate the double stint, and after we need to expertise the tires and see if we can push to the third stint. But like you said, yes, it's very useful for the team to do a triple stint, because it's 3 seconds that you gain not changing the tires at every pit stop.
You talked, Martin, about the need for teams to expand the kind of window, the use of these tyres. That's again part of something else that's important to emphasise for the FIA World Endurance Championship, the sustainability agenda. That's something I know that every tyre manufacturer around the world is grappling with at the moment. There's a target, there's a roadmap for tyres which is probably not that well known amongst the fan base, and that's about introducing more sustainable, more renewable sources into your raw materials. Tell us a little bit about that journey and where that's taking us, Pierre.
So we are using the platform called H24, the hydrogen car. That is the best platform for us to innovate in terms of sustainable material, the renewable and recycled product that we are using it. So we are doing this first step with this car. What we have learned on the H24 car, we already transfer some technology already on existing tire range that we are using today in Sao Paulo. The slick tires have 30% of renewable and recycled product already on it, and the wet tire has already 45% of sustainable material. After, we are developing a new range for the future, for the short-term future, which will increase again this ratio in terms of for the slicks and also for the wet tires. Because the aim of the Michelin Group is by 2050, all the products, all the tires who are going to be produced will be with 100% of renewable and recycled product.
And of course, what we're doing with that is, it's not just about racing cars, because everything that you're learning here is speeding up research and development for all the road car tires.
Exactly. It's what we call motorsport is an accelerator of innovation, because we learn very fast. In Le Mans, you can imagine that in a 24 hours race, we gather more than 100,000 kilometers only with the 23 hypercars. So it's a massive load of data that we collect to be able to improve the tires.
It is a strange part of the era of motorsport, isn't it? With an awful lot of spec in the hypercar era to try to contain the costs of development. What's going on in the background are some of the other key suppliers. You guys at Michelin, your friends and colleagues at Goodyear with LMGT3, and for that matter, TotalEnergies in terms of what's happening with the fuel in the World Endurance Championship. Innovation is carrying on at a pace. It's pushing hard.
Yes, it does, because for us, there's no better platform than the motorsport today to innovate, because we can accelerate a lot of innovation and get a lot of opportunities to develop tires on the
Bit of a moment there for the number 12 car. There's a skid plate along the edge of the curbs to the outside as he dealt with traffic, and there was a moment there too between the 499 Ferrari and the 81, the TF Sports Corvette.
Yeah, the 12 Jota is Norman Nato, who Bruce was trying to line up for a quick chat with us earlier. You can see the wipers are still on, so the rain has not stopped. What little bits of rain there are, so the track's still just that tiny bit greasy. And I think actually that showed us what we're going to see a lot of in the race, which is really hard-working drivers trying to make gaps in traffic to get into among the GT cars, and actually among some of the hypercars as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's been this phrase for many, many years: racing improves the breed, whether it's road cars, learning from race cars, whether it's tyres, whether it's fuel, of course. Yeah, TotalEnergies, all the fuel used in the championship is 100% renewable, so it comes from previously unusable waste products of the wine-making industry. So again, you know, that's a win-win. The more wine we drink, the more racing fuel we help them produce. You know, with that's something we can all get on board with. Jenson Button there. We saw actually Mike Conway on the Toyota pit wall a couple of minutes ago. Conway, of course, with an injury, wasn't able to race at Le Mans, so there's all sorts of last-minute team changes. Jose Maria Lopez stepped up into the number 7 car, and now he's back. So Mike Conway is back. So we're only allowed one former number 7 driver at the moment. So Conway's back, so we've had to get rid of Ant Davidson.
Yeah, he's back at home.
Watching at home with COVID. Or,
yes.
Yeah, he better be watching at home. I will.
Funny how that COVID came on the weekend of the European Championship final. Came on so suddenly after the semi-final.
Yeah.
Afternoon, Ant.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, all sorts of question marks remain over tomorrow, and this is one of the sort of vagaries, I suppose, Graham, of going motor racing, is that the weather, like with everything else, has a big effect. But if it's raining when you're, you know, in the semi-final of a football match and it's not in the final, then it might be warmer, but it doesn't really affect much of, from the outside, of how the thing plays. But all of the laps we're doing here are in sort of fairly British conditions, and what we might get is a South American day tomorrow. So everything goes up in the air suddenly.
Well, I was going to ask the final question to Pierre before we let him go at the end of this session, which is, it's not just the depth, the scale, if you like, of this field that provides a real challenge for the technology around a racing tyre. It's the fact that these cars are so very different. We've got two completely different insights. With the LMDH cars driving through the hybrid to the rear of the car, we've got the LMH cars that we have here at the moment, so that rule set, which are the Ferraris, the Toyotas, the Peugeots, and the Isotta Fraschini, with a front-driven axle. And then next year, we get the Aston Martin, which is an LMH car, but all the power to the rear with a non-hybrid car. How on earth do you develop a tyre that is fair across that picture?
Yeah, it's a big job, you know. Of course, as you said, that the platform, even if it's the same category, the usage of the tyre is different from one LMDH and the LMH car. Of course, the tyre works differently, which was the big challenge for us to develop a tyre that it suits all these type of cars.
And it's the same tyre on every car?
Every car, all the hypercar using exactly the same tyre.
I would love to have been in the room when that phone call. You want to do what? Are they how different? Yeah. Okay, we'll get back to you.
I'm glad it's Pierre's job and not mine.
Fabulous.
That's all I'm saying.
It is a great era. It's emerging, it's evolving, it's maturing so quickly. I did say it was final question. I've got a habit of doing this. This is the final question. Tell us a little bit about the commercial reaction from your colleagues on the other side of Michelin to the value to them commercially about this booming category, the visibility that this must be giving for your product.
Yeah, it's given a tremendous opportunity for Michelin to talk about our performance into the racetrack, because endurance is the DNA of Michelin, because we want to prove to the world, to the market, that our product lasts until the last kilometer. So this is no better platform for Michelin to demonstrate this technology advantage. After to be partnering with such a big field of all car manufacturers, it's a huge chance for us to work closely with every of them, and also to work also on the OE market, to work also on this aspect.
I was going to say that actually, that the handshakes that you're making with the manufacturers of road cars, those have got to help work within the structure of actually then, you know, Michelin being the chosen tyre on a lot of their products. I remember years ago, back in quite a while ago, Leo Mayle of Goodyear was talking to him about their involvement in F1, and he said for every dollar they spent on marketing, on making, transporting, fitting, and whatever, constructing the tyres for F1, they spent $10 on letting people know they were doing it. So what we see here, and I'm sure it's not that far different with all the tyre manufacturers, what we see here what you bring to this table in terms of how much cost involvement there is, like with if you win Le Mans, nobody knows unless you shout about it. Nobody cares unless you shout about it. So that's all part of it, isn't it? Is coming here and doing a good job is something that the company can use to say, and that's what we do. Look at this, and that's invaluable in the marketplace. When people are looking for tyres, they recognise the brand for things like that.
Thanks very much, Pierre. Always a pleasure having you in the booth. Thanks for the information you're bringing to this broadcast as well, helping us with data that we can bring live to the broadcast in qualifying and then in the race beyond. Pushing on, we're in the final 5 minutes of this free practice 3 session. No change to the top of the order. It still hurts Steve Joseph's number 12 from the 2 Porsche Penske Motorsport 963s. So Porsche 1, 2, 3, Alpine 4th, BMW 5th, Lamborghini 6th, not the regular top 6 we would normally expect. No change since we last updated you either in the LMGT3. Montipure Racing's number 92 Porsche leads the session from the 95 United Autosports. McLaren, the 85 Dems car. A couple of other points to bring forward. If you're enjoying this action and you want to come and see a race in the FIA World Endurance Championship, as you saw with Martin running down the remaining races in the championship, there are still opportunities to do so, and the first of them after this weekend is in another fabulous location. If you've never visited the city of Austin in Texas in the United States and you have that opportunity to do so, check the calendar for the dates and the times. Cota is next up for the FIA World Endurance Championship. Tickets are still available. They are remarkably reasonably priced if you're used to insert name of other World Championship costs. Come and see us. You will be astonished not just by what you see on track, but by the access as a regular fan you get to get close up and very personal with these cars and drivers. You and I were on pit lane last night for 100%. A twilight pit walk, and the fans literally couldn't believe what they were allowed to see and do.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's autograph sessions every day, and a great opportunity if you get yourself a hospitality package or know somebody who can, then you can be on the grid at the start, you can do the pit walks and everything else. These things are fabulous to see up close. The TV, I often think, it allows us to follow the race much better, but it doesn't give you quite the understanding of speed. Don't worry about the number 50 Ferrari. It's looking at doing a quali sim run here in the final couple of minutes, so he's just making a bit of space for himself.
Getting in the way, I'm afraid, though, the BMW was looking to get by. That's caused a bit of furore.
Yeah, that's the number 20 BMW.
Last 2 minutes of this session, and it's time to remind people, if you've enjoyed watching this session, listening to our guests, much more to come. 2 further major track sections to come, qualifying from 14:30 this afternoon, with of course Hyperpole to follow that live on the WC TV app, fiwc.tv. Sign up for that. There's some offers available for this race and for the remainder of the season, with some exclusive features on the app that you will not find on YouTube. There is, though, plenty of free content on YouTube if you're not able to subscribe to those, so you can actually fill your enthusiasm with free content, just not the qualifying in the race, I'm afraid, for the FIWC, including, as we said earlier in the broadcast, the full access programme from an astonishing 24 Hours of Le Mans in June. There will be a follow-up full access from here at Interlagos, about 12 days, I think it is, after this race. So there will be another long-form look back at the dramas of this race meeting, the colour, the personalities, and indeed some views of some of the response to incidents that inevitably will happen through the week that you wouldn't get anywhere else.
Yes, the reticence to be on camera and to say things in front of the microphone that we sometimes saw in season 1 has definitely disappeared. The drivers, the teams, I think, frankly, quite a lot of the time, they're as interested in their teammates' reactions to what happens as we are. So, number 50 Ferrari, trying to get some speed up. It is Porsche 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Number 35 Alpine, 4th quickest in this session. And look there, down to the top 11 cars covered by the first, second. There are just 12 thousandths between the fastest couple of laps. Don't forget that we will be on air shortly before qualifying. We're just going to be on air for a few more minutes after this session finishes as well. So we've got plenty to talk about in qualifying, and of course that involves a hyperpole session as well.
Yeah, finish of the session is being flagged right now. No improvements in time. I think conditions are just slightly deteriorating through this session here. I thought we'd take a moment. One other guest in the booth with us, my friend and colleague Stephen Kilby here as one of the travelling members of the press pack that follows the FIA World Endurance Championship around the globe. Stephen, your first time here in Brazil, and you're soaking up the atmosphere at a circuit you've never seen before. Tell us a little bit about the reaction here from a journalistic point of view. New circuit for you, returning circuit for the WEC, brand new circuit for this expanded hypercar field. Enjoying it?
Yeah, what's not to love about this place? It's just a fabulous cathedral of motorsport, isn't it? You come to these new places, or places you've never been to before sometimes, and there's always bits about it that kind of surprise you after seeing them on TV. And for me, it's the area around the circuit. It has the feel. And I think anybody in the UK in particular will understand this, is go to some football stadiums that have been around for 60, 70 years, and they're in the heart of a community. This circuit is in the middle of a residential area, and you just come across it when you're in the bus in the morning coming to the circuit, and it kind of takes your breath away a little bit, because we've all grown up watching amazing drivers go around this track, and there's so many iconic places and corners and spots to look at.
It is a session headed at the end by the number 12 Hertz Team Jota Porsche 963. This is the car, rebuilt in 2 days after a shunt at Le Mans, and then finishing in the top 10 with its loaner chassis, a chassis that will stay with this car for the remainder of the season before they switch it back to the repaired chassis that did have that incident at Le Mans. Another great result from Hertz Team Jota, and the LMGT3 class headed at the end of the session by the Montai Pure Racing number 92 car. Alexander Malikin it was that set that time. They're just doing a bit of pit stop practice. Next thing here at the circuit, I think, is the autograph session. So we're about to see this pit lane fill up very quickly indeed. The other thing I think that's a surprise to many people, Stephen, is the views you get here at Interlagos. There's a huge amount of rise and fall. Before I ask you that question, there are the times from the session, very close indeed between the top three Porsches. Before we get into a very unusual rest of the top 10 with Alpine, BMW, Lamborghini, the second Hertz Team Jota car, before we get into the number 50 car, Nick Nielsen, the Le Mans winning crew, 8th quickest here, then the yellow Ferrari, the 83 car, and Peugeot, who headed a session earlier this week, the number 93 car, 10th quickest. No sign at the top of the order of the other predominant cars, but then pretty close as well, Martin Haven, in LMGT3.
Yeah, really close. The 31 car, how far down the order is that? Well, that is actually the slowest car in GT3, and it's only 1.1 seconds off the quickest, so a very, very tightly packed field in both categories. We'll catch up with Joel Sturm, one of the 3 drivers at Montai Pure Racing. He's the one who brought it in at the end of the session.
Joel, the session's been going pretty well. Is it your first time in Interlagos? And if so, how do you find the track?
Yeah, it's my first time here. Track is really cool. I mean, there's a lot of history, so it's great to be here. The session has been quite okay for us. I mean, it's still practice, so nothing's really mattering right now. So we'll just see where we are.
Okay, good luck for the rest.
Thank you.
So another good session from the Montai Pure Racing team. They've been in the thick of things, Stephen, throughout this season. They've had some real highs and some horrible lows. I think, as much as everybody else, and I'll add this into the question earlier, it's a bit like, how can we put this, a South American Brands Hatch, this place. You know, you can see just about everything from a number of points. Those grandstands, you're getting to see most of the circuit from one fixed point.
Yeah, I mean, any fans locally who get treated to coming here regularly will know that it's got a bit Fuji Speedway to it as well. You come out the back of the TV compound and you just get this amazing vista. You get a bit of skyline and you just can see how steep and narrow some parts of the circuit are. And it's always a surprise. If you go to Spa, you see Eau Rouge Radion for the first time. It's breathtaking just how steep it is. And with this, it's the fall from turn 1 to turn 2. Standing there at the top of it earlier in the week, it was amazing to really see it in person.
You expected my next point. I know as we're beginning to wind down this broadcast, you've got session reports to write now for Daily Sportscar for racer in the United States. I think it's time for you to go on time faster.
Brilliant.
Well, there is the fastest car in this session, but as we were talking about all the way through, this is not about preparing for qualifying. This is about preparing for tomorrow and trying to get a handle on what tyres are going to potentially do what. As Pierre-Alves Michelin was saying, the same problems will be facing the Goodyear guys who are supplying all the tyres to GT3, as we watch a practice pit stop here for number 12 team, is that tomorrow is going to be a different track in different weather conditions. It'll be like coming back here several months from now in terms of temperature. So everything they're learning today is going to inform what they do tomorrow, but tomorrow is going to be very much a learning curve as well. The field is so tight, so close, that it's going to be very difficult to make a difference. Two Brazilian drivers in the field. Augusto Farfus, he's in the number 31 BMW, and the other Brazilian driver is also in the GT field. It's Nico Costa, and he was actually in the pre-event press conference. One of the things that I thought was quite entertaining was saying that he was here when WEC raced here before 10 years ago. He was racing as a kid on the kart circuit and then sitting on the wall and watching all the cars racing by.
Because he couldn't afford a ticket. He couldn't afford a ticket to get into the race. And that's astonishing, isn't it? Now here he is as part of
here he is.
A booming World Championship.
The first race back for the World Endurance Championship, and he's on the grid. Stoffel, a quick debrief.
With Loic Duval, who was here, of course, as part of the Audi team back in 2014.
All the Peugeot drivers had, they were some of a number who had travel troubles getting here.
Yeah, some real dramas for some of our Italian friends at Malpensa, with a massive tail strike for their flight leaving Milan. Very lucky indeed that wasn't significantly worse. It's a long way from home for the FIA WEC family. I'm going to indulge myself at the moment for about 10 seconds to say it's been a quite difficult week for our family, and I can't see it, Martin.
No, I know. Well, yes, sending all the best back home to Trudy and the rest of the family. So it has been a tough week, but glad to have you with us. Well, let's catch up again in the pit lane with Bruce Giuani. We saw Jenson Button a moment or two ago. Let's hear from him now.
Jens, hi there. Happy to be in Interlagos, to be back on this amazing circuit. And how is it going at the moment?
Yeah, great to be back. It's been 8 years since I was last here, but lots of fun memories of racing here at Interlagos. So nice to be back. Yeah, lots to learn with this car around here. It's very different to an F1 car, but yeah, it seems like we're okay. There's a few little areas we need to improve, but the general car is working pretty well.
Some corners were flat, easy in Formula 1. It's not the case now.
No, I think it's you got more corners in a hypercar here than in an F1 car. So yeah, turn 3 is easy flat, to be fair. Turn 11 a little bit trickier, and also when you're in traffic, it's tough as well. So yeah, a lot more challenges, especially with multi-class racing. But that's why we love WEC.
Excellent. Good luck.
Thank you. Cheers.
Now, before you jump in.
Yep.
Okay, obviously we remember the World Championship with Brawn. This is a very significant track, though, for Jenson Button. Scored his first ever World Championship points in Formula 1 with a 6th place finish here. Won the World Championship in 2009 here. And won his last ever Grand Prix here. So to add a sports car win here would be very special. We will be back for qualifying at 14:30 local, 18:30 GMT. We'll be on our 10 minutes before that, so 18:20 GMT. Wherever you are, join us then for qualifying and Hyperpole.